As the morning mist slowly lifted over the quiet streets of a small American town, Margaret stepped out of her modest home tucked away in a corner of the neighborhood. The old house, with its faded walls and weathered roof, had been her refuge for over 20 years since her husband passed away. Each day in that house passed in quiet solitude, no laughter, no one waiting for her to return. It was just her and the memories of a life she once knew. Yet, despite the loneliness, she remained resilient, never allowing the weight of solitude to break her spirit. However, old age showed no mercy. Margaret's health had been declining over the years. Persistent aches in her back and chest had become more frequent, filling her with worry. Every time she struggled to catch her breath, she reminded herself that she needed to see a doctor. But the thought of her limited finances always made her hesitate. Her meager pension barely covered basic necessities, and whatever little she could save often went toward repairing her leaky roof or stocking up on food for the harsh winter months. This morning, Margaret decided she could no longer postpone her health concerns. The pain had lingered for months, and she knew it was time to seek answers. Rising early before the sun fully illuminated the streets, she prepared herself carefully. With her frail, calloused hands, she counted and recounted the small bills she had saved, ensuring she had enough for the visit. "I hope this will be enough," she thought to herself. Despite her anxiety, her eyes held a faint glimmer of hope. No matter the diagnosis, she would face it with courage. As she walked to the hospital, her pace was slow and deliberate. She clutched the cloth bag containing her money tightly, as if it were the most valuable thing she owned. Margaret avoided looking at the people around her, focusing solely on her goal. In her mind, she repeated, "I just need to get checked. Everything will be fine." But amidst this faint hope, there was a shadow of apprehension, not just about her health, but also about whether the money she carried would suffice. When Margaret entered the hospital, the bustling and noisy atmosphere immediately made her feel out of place. People rushed past her, busy with their own tasks, paying no attention to the frail elderly woman with the weary eyes and modest clothing. For a moment, she stood still, trying to calm herself in the midst of the chaos. Taking a deep breath, she moved toward the reception desk. There, she encountered Claire, a young receptionist with a polished appearance but a cold demeanor. Claire glanced at Margaret from head to toe, her expression filled with indifference, and asked curtly, "What do you need?" Margaret offered a small smile, her voice gentle as she replied, "Dear, I'd like to register for the comprehensive checkup package. I want to get a full health examination." Claire responded with a sarcastic laugh, her tone laced with ridicule. "Do you even know how much that package costs? Over $500. Do you have that kind of money to afford a comprehensive checkup?" Claire's words felt like a slap in the face to Margaret's small glimmer of hope. Trembling slightly, she carefully opened her old cloth bag and pulled out a stack of small bills, neatly folded and organized. This was everything she had painstakingly saved. Margaret gently placed the money on the counter, arranging it as neatly as she could to show she had prepared. But instead of sympathy, Claire only showed disdain. Shaking her head, she said dismissively, "Loose change like this? It's not enough. Fine, I'll register you for the cheapest package." Without waiting for Margaret's response, Claire hastily completed the paperwork. Her cold, dismissive voice echoed through the already tense waiting area, drawing the attention of others nearby. Curious gazes turned toward Margaret. A few people began to whisper among themselves. "Look at that old woman," someone murmured. "She looks so poor. There's no way she has the money for the expensive package." Margaret heard the whispers, but she kept her head low, trying to block out the sting of their words. She had spent her entire life being kind and helpful to others, but now she was being judged and dismissed simply because of her appearance and financial situation. Her body trembled slightly, but she took a deep breath, steeling herself against the humiliation. Her eyes glistened with sadness, but also reflected a quiet determination. Despite being looked down upon, she gripped the appointment slip tightly and walked toward the examination room, holding on to the faint hope that she would find the answers she sought. Margaret held the appointment slip in her trembling hands as she slowly walked toward the clinic. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she kept her composure. Each step felt heavier than the last, not just because of her old age, but also because of the judgmental stares and whispers that surrounded her. She had spent her entire life being kind to others, helping whenever she could. But her modest appearance and poverty now made her a target of scorn and indifference. Her heart ached, yet she continued forward, hoping to find compassion within the walls of the hospital. At the clinic, a young doctor named Andrew prepared to examine her. As he reviewed her file, he noticed she had been registered for a basic checkup, which was different from the comprehensive package she initially requested. With a puzzled expression, he asked gently, "Are you sure you want to go with this package? It's not the comprehensive one you mentioned earlier." Margaret lowered her head and replied, her voice tinged with sadness, "I don't know, child. The receptionist said I couldn't afford the better one." Andrew's gaze softened with understanding. He decided to help Margaret by clarifying the matter at the reception desk. However, when he approached Claire, the young receptionist, her indifferent attitude remained unchanged. "I've already told you," she said flatly, "this old lady doesn't have enough money. Don't waste your time." Her words were loud enough for those nearby to hear, sparking outrage among the onlookers. Linda, a middle-aged woman waiting nearby, stood up, visibly upset. "That's outrageous," she exclaimed. "Just because she's poor doesn't give you the right to treat her like this." Claire, unbothered, shot back, "You don't know anything, so stay out of it. Look at her. She's dirt poor. Where would she get the money?" The argument drew more attention as whispers and murmurs spread throughout the waiting area. Some patients shook their heads in disapproval of Claire's behavior, while others simply watched in silence. At that moment, a dignified middle-aged man entered the room. Wearing a tailored suit and exuding authority, he was none other than Dr. Michael, the head of the department. Having overheard the commotion, he decided to step in. His deep, commanding voice cut through the tension. "What's going on here?" Claire turned to him, trying to explain. "It's nothing, sir. This old lady couldn't afford the comprehensive package, so I registered her for a basic checkup instead." Dr. Michael's sharp gaze fixed on her, and he asked, "Do you even know who this woman is?" Claire stammered, "She's just a patient, isn't she?" Dr. Michael shook his head and spoke with quiet intensity. "Margaret is not just a patient. She is the mother of a man who donated his organs and saved over 10 lives, including the current head of our cardiology department. Thanks to her son's sacrifice, countless people were given a second chance at life." His words left everyone stunned. Those who had whispered or cast judgmental glances now looked down in shame. Claire's face turned pale as she realized the gravity of her actions. Dr. Michael continued, "Every patient deserves respect and kindness, regardless of their wealth or appearance. The first thing you need to learn in this profession is compassion." Overcome with guilt, Claire knelt in front of Margaret, tears streaming down her face. "I was wrong," she said, her voice breaking. "I didn't know. Please forgive me." Margaret, with her kind and forgiving nature, placed a hand on Claire's shoulder. "It's okay, child. Realizing your mistake is what matters. Everyone makes mistakes, but what's important is that you learn from them." Touched by Margaret's words, Claire resolved to change. Margaret was quickly taken for a comprehensive examination. The doctors discovered that she required urgent surgery to save her life. However, the cost of the procedure was far beyond her means. When Margaret's story spread throughout the hospital, it moved many people to action. Charitable individuals from the community came forward, pooling their resources to cover the cost of her treatment. Claire, deeply remorseful for her earlier behavior, contributed what she could. She also began volunteering for programs aimed at assisting low-income patients, learning to listen and empathize with their struggles. Her transformation was a testament to the power of second chances and the impact of Margaret's grace. Margaret's surgery was a success. Not only did she regain her health, but she also experienced an outpouring of love and support from the community. People who had once pitied her now held her in high regard. Though she was still recovering, Margaret smiled warmly and told those who had helped her, "Life has given me the chance to help others. Now, I just want to live my remaining days in peace." Her story became a symbol of kindness and selflessness, inspiring change in those who heard it. Claire, once a cold and judgmental receptionist, grew into a compassionate advocate for patients. Margaret, once dismissed because of her poverty, became a reminder of the profound impact of empathy and humanity. Life is full of surprises. It's a reminder not to judge others by their appearances or circumstances, because everyone carries a story worth valuing. Acts of kindness, no matter how small, have the power to transform not only individuals, but entire communities. Compassion doesn't just bring joy to others, it helps us become better versions of ourselves. Margaret's surgery was successfully completed thanks to the dedicated efforts of the medical team and the support of kind-hearted individuals. When her story spread, people from her community, neighbors, and even strangers came together to raise funds for her treatment. They not only contributed money, but also sent heartfelt messages and care, giving Margaret hope and comfort in her most vulnerable moments. The image of Margaret, an elderly woman with silver hair and resilient eyes, transformed completely. No longer was she someone subjected to judgmental stares and condescending whispers. Instead, she became a beacon of love and respect for all who knew her story. Margaret's strength and grace in the face of adversity became an inspiration. Those who once judged her based on her appearance began to reevaluate their perspectives, realizing the error of their ways. Claire, the receptionist who had treated Margaret poorly, experienced a profound transformation. Deeply regretful, she took meaningful steps to make amends. Claire joined programs aimed at supporting underprivileged patients at the hospital. She frequently assisted those in financial difficulty with their paperwork, offering guidance and encouragement. Every new patient she encountered reminded her of Margaret, a lesson that taught her to value the unseen stories and inherent worth of every individual. Over time, Claire became a compassionate and dedicated receptionist. She learned to listen, empathize, and treat everyone with dignity. Her newfound approach not only helped her redeem herself, but also brought a sense of purpose to her work. Claire realized that working in healthcare wasn't just a job, it was an opportunity to spread kindness and understanding. Though Margaret's health hadn't fully recovered, her smile remained ever present. When asked about the challenges she had endured, she said softly, "Life has given me a chance to help others. Now, I just want to live my remaining days in peace. What everyone has done for me is something I will never forget." It restores my belief that kindness is always around us. Margaret's story is not just a powerful lesson in compassion, it's also a reminder that we should never judge others based on their appearance or circumstances. Even the smallest act of kindness can create a monumental impact on someone's life. Sometimes, a simple smile or a few encouraging words can erase the loneliness and despair that someone may feel. Imagine if each of us took a moment to understand and support those around us. The world would undoubtedly become a better place. Kindness isn't a luxury, it's a value that should be shared and cultivated in our daily lives. If Margaret's story has touched your heart, don't forget to hit like, share the video, and subscribe to our channel, Life Stories 365. Here, we bring you stories that inspire, spreading the values of love and empathy. Together, we can create a community where kindness and compassion are at the forefront. Hit subscribe today so you never miss another heartwarming story. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you again in our next video.